This is Jeff Angell from Walking Papers, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather, and as always, I am bringing you guys awesome interviews. Today it is an honor and a privilege to have Mr. Jeff Angell. He is the vocalist of Walking Papers. They have a new album out called WP2 that's out via Loud and Proud Records, and he just played the library in my home state of Kentucky, Hazard, Kentucky. Jeff, how's it going?
Couldn't be better. Couldn't be better. Pleasure to be on here with the Bodfather.
Oh, thank you. So speaking of my home state of Kentucky, you guys just played Hazard, Kentucky. How was that, man?
It was great. The people there were welcoming. I probably got one of my best rock laments. That's a rock compliment that I've ever had on this thing. Was someone said that I reminded him of like Townes Van Zandt if you had a rock band, and I was like, man, I couldn't ask for a better compliment than that. So it was worth going to Kentucky just for that alone. But then there was a lot of nice people that showed up. The show went off without a hitch. It was great. Sometimes
Kentucky, especially Eastern Kentucky, we get a bad rap just because it's Eastern Kentucky and what you see on TV and stuff. But trust me, folks, it's nothing like that. So I'm glad you guys got to come in here, and I'm glad that there are bands like you guys are coming in here to play some good music for us, because we definitely deserve it.
Yeah, well, it was a pleasure to be there. It seemed to me like you got a real cool thing going on there. It seems like you got a couple sources down there that are willing to help out the arts and bring some, I don't know if we qualify as talent, but they bring some talent or, entertainment in there. But yeah, it was a pleasure to be there. And I was surprised a lot of people knew the songs, so that, the word's getting out. People are spreading the word, and everybody there had a really good attitude and positive folks there.
So let's jump right into this, man. You and Barrett Martin are two long-serving veterans of the Seattle music scene. You previously sang and played guitar for the bands Post-Stardom and Depression and the Mishpashis. Hope I pronounced that right. What sense...
Well, the mish position is good because you don't want to see what the real thing would be. The missionary position. Sometimes we get in trouble with that. People don't want to hear that.
What sets this band, Walking Papers, from the previous bands you were in, or are there any differences from them at all?
I mean, you get different people playing on it, and everybody definitely brings their personality to what you're doing, and that all affects the shade or the color of what you're doing. But I kind of consider it all kind of one body of work, at least from my perspective. But that's kind of how life is too. You roll around and different personalities come into your experience and hopefully enrich it. So I think that's and I'm also in a different chapter of my life than I was. Although I'm still proud of all the music that I'd made with those other bands. It was just some of it I was a little too young to know better, and then there was other times where I was definitely in troubled times, and I think it's reflected in the music. So it's kind of, being a musician, it's cool to look back at your life and see these different chapters of your life, and you can remember what you went through on those songs. And they're kind of, every time you put one of those records on, it's kind of like a time capsule of sorts, because it puts you right back in that position of where you were when you wrote it, and the people that you were with, that kind of thing.
Did you guys kind of feel like you were, I guess, in the dark a little bit after the big upbringing of the grunge scene out there, like Soundgarden, Nirvana, stuff like that? Do you think that, after that big push of the bands, it finally just kind of faded out there, as you guys were playing, possibly?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's definitely a hangover. That's what we call it. That there's a hangover in Seattle, and I was a little bit too young to hit that first. I'm like about 6 or 7 years behind most of those guys, but I grew up and witnessed it as a audience member, so I was very inspired by what they were doing. But I also knew I kind of wanted to carve out my own thing. But it was really validating to have people from those bands, recognize what I was doing and accept me as a musical peer. But I think people. If we measured success and the greatness of something by, how many units it sold, then I guess McDonald's is the best food that was ever made, And so I think it's the same is true with music. I think there's a lot of really talented people that never were, didn't have the proper timing or you know what I mean, or didn't have those, even for those bands that are great and write great songs and have talented, hardworking people, there's still a lot of chance and luck and connections and stuff involved in what makes something happen. You know, some bands have zero talent, but they got all the luck and all the connections and they explode. And then there's other bands that are really talented and great, and they just can't seem to get a break. Think of the Stooges, for instance. You know, it's like the Stooges sold like 20,000 copies when they were a band, back when records did sell, and they were dropped from their label. Now, you know, they sell Stooges t-shirts and Target. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
So it's like that sometimes the world doesn't always get it. And when it's there, that sometimes it takes them 20, 30 years to realize that something was great, you know?
I know the Misfits now are a big marketing thing, you know, and I walk into Walmart and I see a Misfits shirt and I'm going, what?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, that's one of my favorite things. I'll see some kids even wearing a Rolling Stones t-shirt with the tongue or something. I'll be like, what's your favorite Stones songs? They're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, you're wearing the Rolling Stones t-shirt. You know,
yeah.
Oh, I just like the logo. You know, so be it.
What's your take on people saying that walking paper breathes new life into rock and roll, man?
Oh, it feels great. It's nice to hear people say stuff like that. We've been getting a lot of really good feedback from, you know, fans and critics alike. So it's been, you know, makes you feel like keep going, you know.
Jeff, what's impressed you the most about making this new album, WP2? What's caught your eye about, if anything, possibly, man?
Well, the coolest thing was that we got to make it. We made it at Josh from Queens of Stone Age at his studio, and I never really worked in a studio like that before, and to where I got to focus my whole life of being down there just focused on making a record. Usually I'm like, what can I squeeze this in on the evenings or the weekends or whatever? And it was really cool to like just go from a hotel to the studio every day for, you know, the 4 weeks or whatever it took to put it together. That was the thing that was the most different for me, that really stood out as an experience, you know, to be able to just focus on the music for a month solid with no distractions, you know.
Did Josh produce this album, or did you guys just record it at his own studio?
No, he just let us use his studio. He wasn't even there. He was on the road, but he did have some new gear that showed up that we got to use before him, so that was pretty nice.
So did you guys actually produce this record then, or who actually produced it?
Yeah, we kind of just, our band problem, maybe we have too many producers in our band. Pretty sure every guy in our band is capable of producing records. And so we never have a shortage of ideas, or we also never have a shortage of people arguing about whose idea is better.
Are there any songs off this album that stand out more to you than any on it as of right now, possibly? I mean, I know these are like picking your favorite collectible or child, but do you have any favorites?
Yeah. Death on the Lips and Red and White are the standout songs to me. You know, I think that I like This Is How It Ends. I think I'm really happy with the lyrics on it, but those other two songs are to me, you know, are achieved. You know, it seemed like I took it just a little bit further than I have in the past, and pretty musically, and, you know, I'm just really proud of those two, especially. What
made you guys go the Pledge Music campaign route for this new album? What was the kick up for that one?
Oh, we just do what the people out there that are in charge of that and say you should do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got ideas. I used to kind of frown on that kind of like crowdsourcing kind of stuff like that, but apparently it's not really a crowdsource. It's more like a kind of, you know, it's a different way of doing it. And then when I looked in, you know, at first I looked at it, it seemed kind of like a bunch of drunk guys that want people to give them money so that they can spend their own money on beer rather than on their records. But now it seems like everybody, like from Black Sabbath to Iron Maiden and all these huge artists, do it as well, as a way to like kind of like be directly in touch with their fans and then offer them some things they can, you know, maybe they can't get at a record store or whatever, you know.
Doing the Pledge Music campaign, what was an interesting item that people went more for, other than the album, of course, but that made you, you know, kind of surprised that they went for that stuff?
Oh, I'm doing an in-house concert at someone's house for $1,000. That was pretty cool. I'm just going to go down, take my guitar down there and sing some songs at their barbecue, which will be weird. But I also make these little snow globe things that I do. So they're like, sell, you know, a direct piece of art from, you know, the singer of the songs or whatever. So I've never really pursued art as anything more than just fun. And so it was kind of cool to make something special for the fans. And I kind of went out of my way to try to make it as cool as I can for the people that were willing to throw down their hard-earned cash for something.
Yeah, I saw that. It looked like a mason jar, and you had like a little figurine in it. But it was cool what you did with it. I dug it.
Yeah, I like it. It's like kind of like found object, I've always loved like dioramas and miniature kind of things, and kind of almost like that's my small version of building train tracks. But I also like the idea of mice, kind of sleeping in a book of matches or something like that. You know what I mean? I just kind of like that idea.
Jeff, do you do anything differently during the writing and recording process to help you keep your mind fresh and open to not let the music get stale or go back down a repeated path, possibly?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just I kind of got my ways of going about it, but I'm always looking to try to find something different. But I'm try to make sure I don't repeat myself. At least don't repeat the parts of myself that I don't like.
Right.
But I do. There's certain parts I kind of want to stay in there. There's certain parts of things I'm like, this is what I like about what I'm doing. So let's keep a little bit of that. But I'd want to try to take that into some different neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like the same vehicle, but you're hopefully driving it to some different destinations.
What can fans expect at a show from the Mighty Walking Papers who have not got to see you guys live as of yet?
Well, I think that that's probably where we shine the most. I think we really, a lot of our, we have enough material to really dial in a set, and I think we really are, passionate about what we do, and I think we get a pretty good connection going on with the crowd. I usually try to get up there in the people's faces as much as I can. I was just talking to the sound guy here. We were doing a sound check, and he was like, "How were the monitors last night?" And I was like, "I don't know, because I spent most of my time in front of them." So I'm not even hearing what the monitors are supposed to hear me, because there's just a barrier between me and the people that are there, and I'm kind of like, move these things off the stage. They're not doing me any good.
We're living in a digital era of recording albums and plus social media. Do you like this, where we can get albums out quicker and plus social media to reach out to more fans, possibly? Do you like this?
The hard part is that it doesn't generate the same kind of revenue that it used to. And now the bands usually never saw that revenue anyways, but it made the labels spend money on marketing, and so that part was, I wasn't making that many records of that time, but I do know that a lot of people got a really good push because the labels, they had the incentive to push it because they would get the money, they would increase the value of their money when people sold the records. But now labels don't want to spend money on promotion because no one buys records. But as a fan, I love being able to, dig into catalogs of bands that's where maybe I couldn't afford to buy all, 30 Bob Dylan albums. You know what I mean? But now I can just go, it's Bob Dylan week. I'm going to start at the first album and work my way through them all.
Right.
As a fan, that's pretty great, and to go down the rabbit hole of like researching and watching videos of these people that you like and love. And, I really think that that's a cool connection with the music, but I didn't really get into the music business for the money anyways. That wasn't my incentive. It was, if you did, you'd probably have better luck doing playing the Powerball or whatever down on your scratch tickets. You'd probably do better off. Music business is pretty hard to win at, but it's also, it does get hard to sustain yourself out here sometimes when you don't have that kind of money coming in, but it's all right. That the adversity makes for better songs, I think.
In your own opinion, man, what does Walking Papers bring to the table for music that's not out there as of right now? And I'm not knocking anybody that's out there right now. Just what does Walking Papers bring that's not out there? Well,
the funny thing is that what I think makes a hard thing for people to get into us or know where to categorize us is that we're kind of doing our own thing. But, to me, that's always been my incentive, was like, how do you define a sound that's yours alone? And I think we're at some kind of intersection between Black Sabbath and Tom Waits or something,
Right.
But like somehow we're blending things together that have probably never went, people will definitely hear some things in the music that they're familiar with, but I also don't think it's ever been put on the table in quite this way. But then what I hear a lot, like just the other day, I was doing a pitch for like a playlist. They're like, which playlist do you belong on? And so I was going to listen to these playlists, these people, and it's like a lot of the bands I can't tell one from the other. It seems like they're using the exact same equipment, the same effects on the vocal, the same, like you can count almost to the, here's when the bass is going to kick in, and this is when the vocal's going to start. And I know that you can kind of almost know exactly how the song's going to go before you've even heard it, and definitely halfway through you already know what you're going to get for the rest of the song. Mm-hmm. And I think that in rock music, at least right now, that people aren't being very adventurous. Rock musicians are almost going, what can we do to make our stuff more like pop or more like country so that we can have some hits, where they're not thinking, they're thinking more like producers than they are thinking like artists. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't think to me, that isn't what I got in it. That really, I have zero interest in being a derivative form of something that's already happened. I'm trying to, see how can I, take this baton and, run it down the course my own way, not trying to just be a clone of what's come before me or what's popular now, And I think that our band offers that as I think we truly are making music that's, genuinely inspired, and it's genuinely something that, it's its own thing. It's not, fitting to a certain uniform that it has to, conform to.
Support-wise, is there a country or a region that stands out more or even surprises you that you guys get support from?
Oh, I was pretty surprised there were some people in the front row that knew the lyrics to the songs in Kentucky there the other day. I definitely was pleasantly surprised that, we were a little nervous about how the show was going to go because the venue had switched and, we weren't getting a lot of feedback from it. But then we showed up, there was definitely some people there and they knew the lyrics and they were really grateful to have us out there. And I felt really good about being included in that.
That's one thing about us, man. If you don't see a lot of feedback from us, trust me, we'll be there in droves. I can say that for 1,000%.
Great.
You'd have no problem coming back, that's for sure. What made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you, Jeff, that said, yeah, that's what I want to do right there?
Well, like I've heard it before, but some people are like, I don't know if I chose music or music chose me. It's always been there ever since I was a kid. It just seemed, I always liked stories and songs, and, I always felt like they were magic. And, I was fascinated by them and wanted to know more about it and how it worked. And, that definitely, it was there before I even was conscious. I was always glued to the radio and listening to songs and reimagining the songs. And, the first job I had was digging a hole for an outhouse. And after I had the money, I went and bought my first record with the first dollars I earned myself. That's just kind of all I've been fascinated since day one. I went to my first concert in third grade. It wasn't like something that came up to me later. So it's like, it's hard to say what made me inclined, except for it's like, I kind of felt like the songs, I was just connected to music. I don't know. It's like it was my family.
Yeah, music is an outreach for so many people. It's not even funny. I mean, that to me is the most therapeutic stuff that you can have, regardless of what else you could take.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there a show or moment that stands out more to you than right now, possibly, that's, you couldn't believe that you was part of?
I mean, there's been a lot. It's to tell you the truth, pretty much sometimes you play a place and there's nobody there, or sometimes you play a place and the biggest show I've ever played was maybe 80,000 people in France. And I got to say that I don't know that, when something bad happens at a show or something, something breaks and it, kind of ruins your vibe a little bit. But the minute that music kicks in, it doesn't really matter where I'm at. It all becomes great instantly. It's like, your dog wagging his tail at you when you walk through the door, when you get home, it just, makes you feel better no matter what's going on in your world. So it's like, it's hard to say that anyone's better than the other. I've had some to where I'm like, wow, that was good. There was this, we played this night and Billy Gibbons was in the audience. How great is that? And that stands out. Or we played this show and there was tons of people there, and that's kind of magical. Or last night I crowd surfed. I haven't done that since I can remember, so that stands out, but it doesn't really, I think that they're all special in their way, because it's all like you're going to some meditative place to where, you're kind of not really there anyways.
Right. I just like to say, as a fan of your guys' music, thank you for what you all are doing right now, man.
Oh, thank you for making some time for us.
Jeff, how can folks stay in touch with you guys, buy some merchandise, buy this new album, tour dates, tickets? How can they do that, my friend?
Best is to find us up there on the Facebook, and then that's all connected to the powers that be.
Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for the show?
My pleasure. All right. This is Jeff Angell from Walking Papers, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Thank you so much, Jeff.
My pleasure.